They say you can feel the shift when a daughter becomes someone else's. I felt it on a Tuesday in the way she poured the wine. Not how I raised her to do it, graceful with a cloth beneath the neck of the bottle, but fast with one eye on her phone and the other on the door. Mom Lily said, not looking up. Henry and I were wondering, have you ever thought about downsizing? The question landed soft, almost too soft, like a petal dropped from a rooftop, silent, but if you really think about it, suspicious. I looked around the dining room, my dining room with its thick velvet drapes, and the mahogany table Robert and I had hunted down in Atlanta the year she was born. I was still holding the serving spoon above the mashed potatoes. Downsizing, I asked slowly. What for? She gave a quick smile. You know, less to clean. Maybe move into one of those cute garden apartments downtown, closer to the market and the symphony. Her husband Henry adjusted his cufflink. It'd be smart, Eleanor. Property taxes are brutal, and this place must be getting harder to maintain at your age. At your age. There it was. I said nothing, just reached for the gravy boat. They were careful after that, smiled too much, cleared their plates too fast. When Henry kissed me on the cheek before they left, he called me Ellie. He had never called me that before. I waited until the door shut and the porch light clicked off. Then I went to the safe in Robert's old study. The inheritance was still there, all $7.3 million of it, untouched, unspoken, hidden in a trust Robert and I had quietly prepared before his cancer came, only my name on it, no one else's. And in that moment, after the downsizing pitch, after the Ellie, I realized something. They thought I had nothing to protect. They were wrong. Lily's voice on the phone was too bright, like a hallway light flicked on at midnight. Mom, sorry to call so early, but Henry's found something incredible. A real opportunity, but timing is tight, like really tight. She said the word opportunity the same way a child says emergency. I sat up in bed, the dawn just bleeding through the curtains. Are you okay? I asked. Oh, yes, we're great. It's just this new property downtown near the lake. It's going to be the new hotspot. Henry's group wants to flip it into luxury rentals, but they need liquidity fast, and since the banks are slow with partnerships. She trailed off. I waited. Then softly, we were wondering if maybe you'd consider a short-term loan. The way she said we felt like a wall slamming shut. She never said we, when it was about me. It was always just Henry and I. How much I asked, though my stomach had already dropped. Only $400,000, she said too quickly. Just until the next phase closes. We'll pay you interest, of course, and Henry says we could even put it in writing if you want. If I want. My hand gripped the phone tighter. I stared across the room at the photo of Robert and me on our wedding day. The small courthouse, the rain, his ridiculous polka-dot tie. Lily was still talking. About comps, ROI, low risk, huge upside. But what I heard clearer than anything was that she was scared, and underneath her voice I was scared, because I remembered the foreclosure Henry's father went through, the silent investors from his last company who never got paid, the bankruptcy whispers I never brought up at dinner. This wasn't a favor. It was the start of a funnel. And I wasn't going to be the faucet. I'll think about it, I said carefully. The silence on the other end was long. Then Lily, softer mom. We wouldn't ask if we had anyone else. That was the part that chilled me, because I believed her. They didn't have anyone else. They had me. The envelope was thick embossed and smelled faintly of toner and control. It came by courier, no note from Lily. Just my name on the front, and the name of some polished law firm out of Atlanta. Inside, Family Asset Contribution Agreement, 14 pages. Tucked near the end in pale gray italics was my full legal name already slotted in as initial capital contributor. $400,000, non-refundable, no co-ownership, no voting rights, no recourse, just a signature line, waiting. I read the whole thing standing in the hallway. I didn't sit. I couldn't. Page after page, clause after clause, every word soaked in the assumption that I would just comply, that I was a resource, a checkbook and cardigans. I picked up the phone. Lily, I said flatly when she answered. A document arrived. She hesitated. Oh, right, Henry had it sent over. It's just a template. No pressure. No pressure, I asked, quietly. So my name being pre-filled was just a suggestion. Pause, then it just saves time. Henry's lawyer thought Henry's lawyer, I said, my voice sharpening. Not mine. Mom, don't make this dramatic. It's a formality. We're offering you a return on investment. I felt heat bloom up my neck. You didn't even ask me. She exhaled. We thought you'd be happy to help. You always say family supports each other. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because in that moment, the veil lifted. This wasn't about needing help. It was about expectation, inheritance, entitlement, and worse, disrespect. She didn't see me as a woman with a past, with history, with strategy. She saw me as her safe fallback, her soft landing. And Henry, he hadn't spoken to me directly since Christmas. Not unless there were witnesses or wine. I looked down at the signature line again. My hand didn't shake. My jaw did. Because this was the moment I realized they were trying to write me out of my own legacy. Robert's money, my money, quietly grown, carefully protected. And they had the gall to try and sink it into some soulless real estate scheme built on shaky credit and soft threats. I hung up without another word. Then I pulled out the original trust binder, the one Robert had insisted we build before his 3rd round of chemo. And I began preparing, not just a refusal, a reckoning. They picked the kind of restaurant that confuses quiet with class glass tables, bread without butter servers who speak like they're auditioning for NPR. I wore Robert's watch, the one he left me in his will with a note that read, "You always had better timing." Lily hugged me at the entrance. Henry just nodded already, glancing at the wine list. "Mom," she said sweetly, "you look relaxed." I smiled back. Well, I've had some time to think. That made Henry pause just long enough to scan my expression. Then he smiled too, thin, placating. "Good," he said, "because we think this is going to be a great opportunity for everyone. Everyone." The word floated there, bloated with assumption. They ordered appetizers I didn't touch. Henry talked about numbers, rental trends, urban renewal, demographic shifts. It all sounded like noise wrapped in buzzwords. When he finally paused to sip his over-oaked Chardonnay, I reached into my bag. "I had someone look over your documents," I said calmly. Henry stiffened. Lily blinked. "You did?" "Yes. My lawyer, Claire Rourke. She was Robert's advisor before the end." I placed a crisp folder on the table, pale gray like theirs. No label. I brought something too. Henry's fingers twitched. "Eleanor, we didn't mean to overstep. The draft was just premature," I said evenly, assuming, maybe even insulting. Silence now. Lily looked at me hurt, flickering behind her lashes. "Mom, we thought this would bring us closer. We want you involved." I opened the folder. Inside, a formal summary of my current holdings, a forged one. A strategic fabrication built with Claire's help, showing modest savings, a basic retirement plan, and a house with more sentimental value than financial weight. No mention of the $7.3 million. Just a woman living simply, cautiously, not worth scheming over. "I wanted you to know where I stand," I said softly, "so there's no confusion." Henry leaned forward. "This doesn't reflect your actual assets." I smiled. "And how would you know that?" His jaw clenched. Lily looked between us. "You said you'd think about it." "I did," I replied. And I decided, I'm not a silent partner, not a blank check. And not your bank. The server returned to pour more wine. No one spoke. When he left, Henry's voice dropped low, taut with strain. "Are you saying you won't help your own daughter?" "I'm saying," I said gently, "that I will no longer fund disrespect." The silence stretched across 4 days. No texts, no calls, no email from Lily, not even her usual link to a funny dog video she'd send when she wanted to soften me up. I thought I'd feel stronger, empowered. Instead, I stood in my kitchen on the 5th morning, staring down at the teacup she gave me last Mother's Day, painted with wildflowers chipped at the rim, and felt like I'd broken something sacred. I didn't regret refusing them. I regretted what it had cost me. I'd raised Lily to be smart, to be assertive, to protect herself in rooms that would try to shrink her, but I hadn't prepared her for greed or manipulation, not from the person in her own bed, and I sure as hell hadn't prepared myself to be the target of it. A week after the dinner, I got a knock on the door. I opened it to find Henry alone. No Lily. He held a small box in both hands. "This is for you," he said. Inside a bottle of wine I'd once told him I liked. Nothing more, just that. But his eyes, they were hard. "I wanted to apologize," he said, calm and composed. "We moved too fast. Misjudged the tone. Tone, I thought. Not trust, not boundaries. Tone. I appreciate the gesture," I said. "But I'm not interested in rehearsed sincerity." His smile didn't reach his eyes. Well, if you change your mind, you know where we are. I watched him walk down my porch steps like a man who had just marked territory. That night I checked the mailbox, buried beneath grocery flyers and a sympathy card from a church friend who thought I was still grieving. Robert was an envelope I nearly threw away, but something about the handwriting stopped me. It was Lily's, inside a single sheet of stationery torn at the corner. Her handwriting shaky, rushed. Mom, I'm not proud of what's happening. I didn't know Henry was pushing paperwork like that behind my back, but I also didn't stop it. I wanted to believe we were building something honest, but I let him lead too far too fast. And now I think I've broken your trust in me. I'm sorry. I just don't know how to fix it. L. I sat down on the cold tile floor, my knees giving out beneath the weight of that final sentence. I just don't know how to fix it. Neither did I, because some things didn't get fixed. They cracked, and you just learned how to carry them differently. And still I ached, not for the money, not even for the manipulation. I ached for the girl who used to fall asleep beside me after nightmares, the one who used to write, "I love you, Mommy," in the steam of the bathroom mirror. That girl was gone. In her place was a woman torn between loyalty and ambition, and the worst part, I wasn't sure which side she'd choose next time. Claire's voice was calm but surgical. He used her tablet, Eleanor. IP address pinged from their condo. Attempted transfer flagged by the bank's back-end system. The amount wasn't small. He went for $980,000. Not quite greedy enough for a full $1,000,000. But bold. My hands didn't shake this time. They clenched. What account, I asked. One we buried on purpose, she said. The old mutual fund Robert opened before Lily was born. You remember the one we left as a breadcrumb, just in case someone started sniffing. I remembered. The account with nothing in it but a traceable trail. A decoy. He bit, Claire said. And now we've got him digitally, legally, chronologically. I didn't speak. She continued. You want me to go to the DA? No, I said slowly. Not yet. I didn't want punishment. Not yet. I wanted revelation. So I made a plan. 3 days later, I invited Lily to lunch, just her. No Henry, no agendas, just lemon cake and black tea on my porch. She looked worn, sleepless, tense, her hands curled around the mug like she needed it to stay upright. I got your letter, I said gently. She looked away. And I believe you meant it. That made her cry. Big, silent tears rolling down cheeks, too young to carry this much consequence. I didn't know he tried anything, she whispered. I swear. I handed her a folder, bank logs, device data, screenshot of the IP address, and at the very top a forensic audit summary certified by Claire. Lily read it, her eyes widening, her mouth dropping open as the truth sank in. I changed my password, she murmured. He said he was updating my calendar app. You gave him everything, I said softly. Your trust, your access, your silence. She dropped the papers. Then, through gritted teeth, what do? I stood and poured more tea. First I said, you get out, quietly, carefully. You go to your cousin's for 2 weeks. You tell no one where you are. She nodded fast as her tears dried into something new, resolve. Then I said, you come with me to a notary. You sign a sworn statement that the funds were accessed without your consent, that you did not authorize the transfer, that you were misled. And then she asked. I handed her a second folder, the one with the prenup clause Henry never read carefully enough, the one Robert insisted she sign the year she eloped. It stated that any fraud, digital or otherwise initiated by a spouse, would immediately nullify all rights to marital assets. And I looked her in the eye. Then you let me show you how women survive men like him. The silence after Henry's downfall was a kind I hadn't known in years. It wasn't awkward. It was clean. He tried everything. Emails to Lily laced with guilt calls from a burner number. A handwritten letter to me sealed with wax as if theater could outdo truth. But the damage had already unfolded itself like a map he drew with his own hands. The divorce was swift. Claire made sure of it. The fraud report had teeth, and the prenup held. Henry left with nothing but his designer watch and a leased car someone else repossessed 2 weeks later. Lily didn't look back. For the first time in months, maybe years, she stood taller, not just freer, but wiser. We spent that first night after the court hearing in my kitchen. No champagne, no big declarations, just pasta and music, from the old stereo Robert never got rid of. Lily stirred the sauce. I poured the wine. I think I was scared of being alone, she said quietly, so I let myself be surrounded by the wrong person. I nodded. Sometimes we confuse shared space with shared values. She smiled, and I confused your silence for softness. It was softness, I replied, just not weakness. We laughed then, the kind of laugh that shakes something loose. Later, she asked me the question she hadn't dared until now. Is it true, Mom? I looked up. The inheritance, the real one, was there ever anything more than what you showed us? I didn't answer right away. I reached for the manila envelope I'd kept hidden behind Robert's old ledger in the back of the cabinet. The real summary, the real numbers, the real future. She opened it slowly. 7.3 million, tax-sheltered, diversified, untouched. Her lips parted, then quivered. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. I looked her in the eyes, because I needed to see who you became without it, not because I didn't trust you, but because I needed you to trust yourself. She didn't speak, just crossed the table and held me tight, trembling real. In that moment, I knew something deeper than relief. I knew peace, not because I won, but because I didn't have to fight anymore. I had raised a woman who could come back from the fire, who could protect herself, who could protect us. The money, that was just a tool. The truth, that was the real inheritance. The next morning, we walked the garden together. She stopped in front of Robert's favorite oak tree. I want to help others, she said, women who've gone through what I did, who think they have no choice. Then we will, I told her, and we'll do it in your name, she nodded. In yours, too. What would you have done if you were her? Leave a comment. Your story could be the one that helps someone else wake up. Subscribe to Everglimpse for more true story thrillers like this, where the quiet ones fight back and secrets never stay buried.